Welcome back to Eye on South Asia. Sanjiv, last week we talked about the strange story and death of Mr. Urooj Khan,
Correct.
the lottery winner from Chicago.
Yes.
Now, he had died actually before he collected his payout of $425,000 in
And the
cash.
question is, who did it?
The question is who did it.
Exactly.
And now the family is coming into the story with a very convoluted saga, drama over money and relationships. Yep. It's just getting more interesting by the minute, but it's a very sad situation as well. So initially the police had called the death a suicide, but after the investigators received a tip from one of his relatives,
one of the family members, yeah.
From one of his relatives,
right.
yeah. They determined that he was murdered because they had conducted an investigation,
yep.
which they saw cyanide in his blood. And now we're starting to see a lot more from his family. Urooj Khan and his wife, actually, Shabana Ansari, and her 3 siblings were fighting for months over his estate and his business as well as his lottery winnings.
Now what has happened now that his father-in-law has come into this story, which we didn't have any information about his father-in-law. I think last time we reported on this story, but now his father-in-law came into the picture with the news that he also owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to in taxes
exactly.
to the federal.
Yeah.
So now he came into the picture, and apparently I think he had a dinner with him also a night before that he died. Him and then Urooj Khan, his wife, and his siblings. So his father-in-law came in the picture along with his ex-wife.
Right.
We didn't know last time also that he had an ex-wife.
Right. He actually had a teenage daughter.
Correct.
Who was in the home with him when he had passed away. But what happened was he had an ex-wife, and this was his daughter from the previous marriage. So Shabana Ansari is actually her stepmom.
Right.
And as you said, his ex-wife is coming back into the picture and saying, you know, I haven't seen my daughter in decades, you know, I want to see my family again. You know, it's almost expected when these sorts of lottery winners come about. So
what we know so far, let's share it with our viewers that this gentleman Urooj Khan, who actually came from Hyderabad, India, he migrated to Chicago in 1989, and I think in just a few years he really became a successful business person, having owned a couple of dry cleaners and other businesses, right? And then a couple of interesting things here, that in 2010 he went to Mecca, and when he went to Mecca, I think one of the beliefs in Islam is that you're not allowed to gamble, and he kind of adopted that, but he still gambled, and he won $1 million lottery in June of 2012. Also, another interesting twist in the story is, and that makes it more complicated, because Urooj Khan died without a will.
Right, and this is one of the reasons why all of his family is starting to fight over his estate.
But I think state of Illinois
winnings.
law is, I think, divides 50-50, right?
Well, the court right now has made Shabana Ansari the administrator of his assets until there's a further ruling that comes out. And you know, the question now is, if she's involved in the murder, that's really going to put another spin on the story, because now reporters from not just within the country but even from overseas are coming and swarming the family house to know what happened that night and what did she serve him for dinner and so on.
Like I said, question is who did it, and if I say further, how did it? How did they do it?
Yeah.
You know, that's something interesting that we need to find out, who did it and how did they do it. But apparently police is not coming out with any other information. Would it be really difficult to find out that what he ate and who cooked dinner and
well, you know,
whatnot?
cyanide can actually be ingested through inhaling it or eating something that's being contaminated with it, so they have to determine those sorts of things. But yeah, there haven't been any reports coming out from the police. We're literally just seeing drama from the family and what is going on. So it does seem like the family is a big factor in this story.
Sure. And there is a big conspiracy around this case, around Urooj Khan's case.
Yeah.
Urooj Khan of Illinois. Now, moving on, here's another story which is also a fraud story, and to save money for taxes. I mean, we have heard this kind of cases again and again, and there are many, many cases we'll be coming to also. This is about Indian American entrepreneur who actually pleaded guilty because he wanted to save taxes, and in order to save taxes, he actually deposited millions of dollars in Swiss bank accounts and offshore accounts in Cayman Islands. He pleaded guilty.
He also had accounts in India.
Exactly.
Right.
He pleaded guilty, Sanjay Sethi, who actually ran a successful software business, and he made millions. But finally, he pleaded guilty, and he will have to pay millions of dollars. But what makes it interesting is that, you know, according to the criminal information, it says that Sethi met with a banker in New York at precisely Bank of New York branch at that time. Right. And Sethi just asked them where can he deposit his money where it's not noticed and it's totally undeclared and he can save money on taxes. And apparently this banker said that you know, if you deposit money into Swiss accounts, your asset will grow and you can save a lot of money, and you can, you know, you can basically not pay taxes.
Now, are they going to come after this banker, or are they going to identify this person?
First of all, the Bank of New York is no longer there, right? Bank of New York is not there, so they're not going to be able to find that person. But I'm just saying it that he took his advice, and then he decided to deposit millions and millions of dollars in his Swiss bank account. And he's not the only one. Here's the alarming fact: he's not the only one. According to reports, there are several other Indian American successful entrepreneurs who actually are depositing money in his Swiss bank accounts or in Cayman Islands account to save taxes.
Right. And of course, as we know, the IRS requires Indian Americans, in particular here in this case, to declare their foreign assets, you know, wherever they are in the world.
Exactly, and that's a report of foreign bank or financial accounts. It's called FBAR, that you must submit, you must file with your tax return.
Yeah.
And if you fail to do so, this is what happens.
Yeah, he owes, how much did you say he owes in taxes or in penalties?
In the penalties, it's going to be, I think, $2.4 million. And then a fine of $250,000, and plus he's going to serve some jail term. Right.
I mean, it could be 5 or 6 years in jail. So much for saving money there. You know, if you're caught, it's big trouble. All right, so we do need some good news for a change here. So guess who had their 150th birth anniversary?
Swami Vivekananda.
Swami Vivekananda. So on this day, January 12th, the Hindu American Seva Communities, the HASC, launched a program, and they're calling it the Annadanam program.
Right.
And this is headed by Hemant Wadhwani, the Seva program director. And what they're doing is their goal is to feed the hungry in the tri-state area of New York and New Jersey.
And also this program is in a partnership with Muslims Against Hunger.
Exactly. With Muslims Against Hunger, they are going to be distributing excess food from temples and restaurants, that, you know, leftover for homeless. And in the past, they've also had an interfaith collaboration with the White House, where their goal, again, has been to target this issue of hunger, to eliminate hunger and help out the homeless community in the DC area as well.
Yep.
And more recently, Wadhwani and his organization launched the Hanuman Capital Initiative to fund more global initiatives. So it would be really nice to see his organization, the HASC, really expand and reach out for more global efforts, such as, you know, even targeting hunger, poverty in India and other countries as well.
To mark Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth anniversary. Okay, interesting.
Yes. All right, so let's talk about South Asian students and the Intel Science Talent Search.
Yes.
All right, so there have been 300 semifinalists that have been named at the 2013 Intel Science Talent Search, and out of those, 69 have been South Asian students, which is quite impressive.
How can it not be? I mean, Intel Science Talent Search and not having a major portion of South Asian students in it?
Yeah, that's where we excel.
Right.
And contest participants, of course, have been made great contributions to science and math.
Right.
And you know, they've really gone on to win some of the greatest prizes, like the Nobel Prize, the National Medal of Science. And every year, the Intel company picks 300 students and as semifinalists, and they end up going on for to compete for $1.25 million in awards. Okay. And from that pool of semifinalists, we have 40 who are going to be invited to DC, and they're going to be competing for a top prize there.
And who knows, out of one of them may win Nobel Prize in the future.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting is that out of that 69 South Asian students that we talked about, there's actually a reason to celebrate here in New York, because New York has the highest number of South Asian semifinalists in this competition.
Oh,
a whopping 22 semifinalists there.
All right, way to go, New York.
Yeah, way to go, New York. And California comes in second with 13, while Massachusetts has 5.
Okay.
And there's only one South Asian student from New Jersey, but we congratulate all of the semifinalists in this competition.
Good.
All right, so speaking of New York, if you're touring around the city, and especially in the Grand Central Terminal and 2nd Avenue area.
Specifically on the 46th Street.
Specifically in that
between
area.
Between 2nd and 3rd Avenue.
There's actually a very nice restaurant that you
might want to check out.
And if you happen to
walk by there and when there is a beautiful aroma coming through that place, then you know it's a Tulsi restaurant.
Tulsi restaurant is owned by Chef Hemant Mathur,
right.
And this is definitely a place that you would want to check out. And Tulsi means holy basil of India,
yes,
of course. And this restaurant is one of the 3 Michelin star Indian restaurants in New York City.
Very true.
Which is rare. Yeah. And the other 2 are, I believe, Janoon and Tamarind.
Okay.
And of course, there are big names as well. So to recommend some dishes from Tulsi, we have gobi Manchurian, tandoori paneer, and if you're into lamb, they also have lamb galuti, as well as their famous tandoor grilled lamb chops are also a favorite.
And the spinach and corn kofta. That is interesting.
They seem to have some really innovative ideas there. It's kind of a fusion.
Okay. At the Worli Food Festival, sometime early last year in 2012, I remember Hemant Mathur getting attention from everybody as he was preparing some dishes and he was being recognized. And then, you know, he was talked about his accomplishments and the special dishes that he cooks. So he is very well known and a very talented chef.
Right. He's also brought in a lot of celebrities into his restaurant, including Sanjiv Kapoor, the creator of Khana Khazana.
That's right.
The whole line that he has with food. And so, you know, it's definitely our turn to visit the restaurant.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Can we take a break and then come back next week? In the meantime, we'll go and visit Tulsi restaurant?
That'd be a great idea.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about a lot of great stories. You know, we have the inauguration, the big event for this week in Washington, as well as some new developments in community news with the Erica Menendez and the subway murder
Rajat
trial.
Gupta, and then tax fraud stories, Sanjay Sethi's, and also most important Pravasi Bharitya Divas. We actually talked about the highlight of Pravasi Bharitya Divas 3-day seminar in Kochi, India, and what actually Prime Minister suggested for NRIs to come and invest and share knowledge with Indians in India, and that would actually help countries' growth tremendously. That's the story that we covered.
Yeah. And we also talked about new developments in that very mysterious lottery winner story.
Yep.
And
who did it and how did they do it?
Yeah, and some great achievements in the Indian American community with Intel Science Awards. So those are the top stories for this week on Eye on South Asia. And keep watching us week after week on Crossings TV. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook. Just search for Eye on South Asia. Until next week, I'm Bhavna Vanan.
And I'm Sanjiv Pandya.
Signing off on Eye on South Asia. Coming up after the break, we have Personality of the Week with Anjali Sharma. She's going to be talking to the Indian ambassador to the UN, Hardeep Singh Puri. So stay tuned on Eye on South Asia.